Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we're going to talk about The Expanse, Season 1, Episode 1. It's called Dulcinea, and we will start spoiler free, it's in Episode 1, even though it's a year old. Because this is a new thing for us. Typically, if we're catching up with a show before a new season, we'll do maybe a season video for the first one. But we decided to try things a little bit differently, and we're actually just going to go through this episode by episode as we do for most shows. And we'll do one, maybe two a day for the next week or so until we're done. So hopefully you'll enjoy this trip through the show. Now, we made that choice after watching the first episode to see if we liked it, which we did. I liked it a lot, in fact. God, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I liked it. I think a bit less than you, judging by your enthusiasm, but I liked it well enough.
Oh yeah, I think they did this really smart thing where they start off with a couple of sequences that felt really expensive compared to the rest of the show. I think they chose very wisely. We're going to make a strong impression at the start of this.
Yeah.
This is a show we're putting a lot of effort into. But on top of that, I think the reasons why I really like this one, I feel like I've not had like a proper space show like this in a long time. Dark Matter was on, but it wasn't very good.
It wasn't.
And things like that. Whereas this feels a bit more polished, bit more. There's a whole world. If I have a complaint about the start of the episode, actually, is that the captions that come up telling you what the universe is like. There's almost too much of that to take in.
Yeah, there's like 4 pages of it.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay, condense this down.
That said, though, by the end of the episode, I feel like I got a good grasp on all that. Everything it said at the start, I learned. It sort of reinforced it through the episode. So I think they put that all there just to make sure. Okay, it's in their heads, and we're going to reiterate it.
It would just at the time it felt like, okay, this is a lot of info before I see anything.
Yeah. So the setup of the show is that the Expanse obviously refers to the fact that we've expanded beyond Earth. We have colonised Mars, and we've colonised. If you even call it colonisation, I suppose it still is, but it's not colonising the planets per se. But it's like the planets of Saturn. We're sort of like mining on the rings, so there's like space stations up there, and these three sort of distinct groups: the Earth, the Mars, and what they call them? The Belters.
The Belters, yeah.
Like
because they're in asteroid belts.
Yeah, they're in asteroid belts. They're all like different. They're like the three main factions now, and they're kind of all on the verge of war. The Belters have low water and air, and that's like what's valuable to them. Whereas Earth's all the sort of rich, fancy people, and Mars is kind of this. We didn't really get
military.
More militaristic. We didn't get a super amount of Mars because we don't really. I don't think we see anyone from Mars in this episode.
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, we see a ship from Mars. At least the characters think it's a ship from Mars, but beyond that, we don't.
Yeah, we only know from the text at the start where it says Mars is an independent military settlement.
So right away, that's interesting. You've got this dynamic set. You've got this world that it's created. That's very fantastical, but at the same time, it's not. It's not Star Wars. It's not Star Trek. Where there's all these other planets. It's our solar system. It's still based on roughly the kind of thing we're familiar with. But the reason why I think this worked is it did look very good. I think it had a lot of polish. I'm happy to have a space show back. But the other thing I think it did is that, especially some more than others, but I think it did a good job of defining who some of the characters were, and it made me kind of like them and care about them quickly. Holden especially. Holden is the sort of the main character we follow on the ship, who the Cant, which is short for Canterbury, which is an ice mining vessel or transportation vessel, because they're transporting ice out to the Bellers.
Yeah.
And we see that he gets this because Jonathan Banks is in the episode as the EXO who's. I wonder if we're going to see it. I feel like we won't. I don't want to get into spoilers.
I don't think we will.
But it feels like we got Jonathan Banks for like one scene and we'll never see him again. And it was this really weird scene where he's like this crazy old man. I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's in this, and then he was like shuffled off. I was like, okay, that feels like the last we're going to see of him.
Yeah, there was like, his name came up at the start, and I thought, oh, Jonathan Banks is in this, and then I was like, are they basically just. Is this what happened? Like Mike got depressed in the future and he went, cabin fever crazy on a spaceship? I don't know. But we set up quickly that Holden's this guy who doesn't really want to like go up the ranks. He's kind of happy being the grunt that he is, but he's good at what he does. He's good with the people on the ship, and the captain like makes him the temporary XO, and he actually wants him to be the full-time XO, but Holden keeps saying, oh no, I'm just acting. I don't want this job. Not really. But he does a good job at setting up him, his relationships, and the kind of guy he is, where he feels like a real person because he's not just two-dimensional. He has conflicts. It's like he's good at this, but he doesn't really want to do it. He says he'll do this, but then he secretly does something else, and it all makes sense. It doesn't feel.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like I said, I think it's established pretty clearly in that conversation with the captain,
Yeah.
where he's offering him the badge and he's saying, "No, I don't want that," even though he's loyal to the ship and he's been around for, I think he says, 4 years, and he knows everyone, but he just doesn't care, or at least he doesn't seem like he cares.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think he's your sort of reluctant hero
He
type,
is, yeah.
and I'm a fan of that archetype, especially if it's done well. If you do it with if it's well written and you've got a good actor pulling it off, and I think he's likable. I think we just watched the first episode of Beyond from Freeform, and I don't mean this to be insulting or like mock someone's appearance, but like the lead actor on that show, the minute I seen him, I went, he's annoying. Like as soon as I looked at his face, I got an impression immediately of who he was, and whereas with this guy, I'm like, no, he seems like they've cast the right actor for this role. He feels like this type of guy.
Yeah.
I guess I'm criticizing Freeform's casting decisions more than I am.
Yeah, it's not his fault, but
Yeah.
he's just in the wrong part.
Yeah, exactly. He's too much of a pretty boy.
Yeah, and
that
you
role.
saying, "Oh, you don't want to judge the looks." I think it's okay in acting because they're selling a character and a person, and
Yeah.
on screen it's a visual thing.
Yeah, I'm not just saying, oh man, this guy's ugly, get him off my screen. That's not what I mean. I don't mean
In fact,
that at
it was
all.
the opposite before.
It was the opposite, yeah. That's exactly the point. And it's not that this guy is ugly. I'm sure he's very attractive to the ladies and or some men, but he's right for the role.
Part.
He's got a bit of gruffness, just the right bit of sort of grit about him. Little, just slightly unkempt, slightly unshaved, kind of thing. But he looks the part, yeah. That's right. And I think some characters more than other. Obviously, we get so yeah. We follow three. It's funny because there's three main factions of like, in this universe of these different worlds, and we follow three kind of main plot lines, but it's not one from each. It's actually kind of like obviously the ship's kind of an in between kind of thing. We follow a detective played by Thomas Jane. He's Miller, and he is on the sort of the main space station in the Belters region.
Yeah, Ceres, I believe it was.
Ceres, yeah, is the name of it. And he's got a new partner who didn't grow up here. He came from, I think, Earth. And actually this is part of the world building I really liked, is they mention that all the people who were born out here and grew up here had to take meds because they were never brought up in real gravity, so that it changed the way their skeleton kind of formed and the way they grew. Bless you, Connor.
Thank you.
And I just thought it was a nice little simple touch, a little bit of world building. It set up this, Thomas Jane's character's got like, the top of his spine kind of sticks out a bit, and just little things.
Yeah,
like that.
they say how like generations of this has led them like bone deformities, and you can see like their arms are all really thin and skinny, and I mean we see a scene on Earth where one of them is like being crushed by the gravity.
Yeah, he can't handle it. We won't talk about why that is because it's spoiler territory, but you see that he can't handle it. He's never been on Earth. He's never been on a planet with real gravity.
Yeah, he's never felt his body doesn't know how to cope with gravity anymore.
Which is a really weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
Really weird. But it's cool. It's like all these ideas. Like I don't know how scientifically accurate that is, but in terms of us just sitting going.
I mean, I'd say presumably very, seeing as if you go to space, just a space station now for 6 months, you come back, your muscles have atrophied, gravity is hard again. It's difficult. So I imagine generations of that would lead to this.
Yeah, I just mean like it doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate because it just sounds right. Like from what we know, just from our lame knowledge, our lamest knowledge, we get it. Like it makes sense.
Yeah,
and it's good. I think it does a good job of building that world. I think the episode builds a good bit of mystery as to who, like, there's a distress speaking in the episode, and there's a debate about going to find it from the ship that with Canterbury that's going towards Ceres, and there's a mystery as to who sent the distress speaking. There's further mystery when they get there, and there's a big climax to the episode, and all of it made me go, okay, well we have this clear conflict between like the Earth, Mars, and the Belters, but I don't feel like it's just that simple either. There seems to be something more at play here.
Yeah, it seems like there's like independent people, especially with the ship, where it feels like they just care about themselves and like dealing with their own crew, and so it's like they don't really care that much about being involved, perhaps between sides. They don't necessarily want to pick. So you have all these individual factions, even though you've got these big three.
Yeah. I thought all the spaceship stuff looked great. I mean, there's some stuff that, yeah, it kind of, you can tell it's CG, but it looks very good CG for TVs especially.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I think I think the fact that everything has lights on it makes it look really cool.
And it's quite a brave choice as well.
Yeah.
That, especially when it's all CG, you could hide it a bit better if it wasn't all lighty.
It gives it a distinct look, though. It almost feels more, I don't want to say realistic, but it kind of more, like a lot of, like, and this has a bit of weathering in it, where it's like, oh, the Canterbury's specifically mentioned to be an old ship that's fallen apart, but it feels a bit more realistic in the sense that it feels just a bit more clinical than, say, a ship from something like Firefly.
Yeah.
You know, it feels a bit more like that, and I think that it gives it its own feel, its own. Despite the fact that I've seen a lot of movies and TV shows set in space with ships, like, you know, docking and, you know, leaving each other, this had its own distinct look to it. And
which is, it's impressive, I think, now, because it's not that easy to set yourself apart anymore.
No. But that was kind of the first thing that, after the opening scene where we have there's a female character, we don't know who she is, and she wakes up and there's no gravity on whatever ship she's on, and there's no one else there, and she's looking for help, and she's this weird thing which we won't spoil, and that sets up the mystery of the show. And then we don't really see her again for the episode, and it's we get a sense of who she is from another plot line, but we don't know why she was there, what happened, and this is all tying into the mystery, and I like that. But the first thing that grabbed me after the opening scene of just this mystery of her floating around and it being kind of almost a horror-esque scene was just how good the space stuff looked. Like, it cut to, like, the space station, and I'm like, man, I'm into this. Like, I want a show like this.
Yeah, and it never feels like it's having to hide what it's doing either,
No,
which
it
is
doesn't.
important, I think.
And then they really try and show off as well by doing this. Obviously, it's connected by a lot of CG elements, but there's like this sort of almost wonder that goes through the floor and like through these like almost subway-like tunnels that are inside the space station that travel from place to place.
Yeah.
And the camera sort of goes through them and follows some people out of the train car into... I don't even know if the train is the right word to use here, but that's what it feels like the most.
I'd have said train.
Yeah, and we follow them out into the world, and we get a sense of the different people. We get a sense that there's these sort of... I don't want to say extremists, but, you know, there's this person like sort of... And, you know, in public shouting about how the Mars and Earth are evil and we're the true belters, and you feel the sense that there's prejudice amongst people, and there's these, you know, it all ties into the premise. I think that's the thing that the episode does that I really like. Beyond building the characters, it builds the world in a really, really strong way. Everything feels like it's there to let us inform us about what this place is, what this universe is.
And I think that's especially important this first episode because the plot is not that heavy in this episode.
Yeah.
Obviously there's elements of plot, but it's kind of very, very basic, which on its own would not be enough to grab you, but it kind of just lets you settle into what this world is for a good, 40 minutes. I think that's important at the start of a show like this, where there is so much new information that you need to digest.
Yeah, I think... Do you know what I think this did? Really, I can compare it to other things here, and I can tell you why this succeeds. Do you know we often say a lot of dramas, a lot of hour-long shows, their pilots should have been doubles, because it feels like they crammed too much in to fit it all in. This was successful in not needing to do that, because it said, you know what, we don't need to have tons of plot that we would normally have in a pilot. We'll just have all the other important stuff to set it up.
Yeah, and I think I almost prefer it, especially with something like this sci-fi world, where it feels like knowing the world and the politics is going to be important to the plot, obviously. So just getting a basic understanding of that straight away so they can then build on that later feels like a smart choice. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And I think what little plot there is about the distress speaking was engaging, and everything about it, again, informed us about the characters, having the debates, do we go and help them? It let us know what their priorities were, what the general attitudes were amongst these people.
Yeah, but even that served the further world building, like that they mention that they should go, and like why.
Yeah, it's a regulation, they're supposed to go.
Yeah, so you get the idea that, okay, there is oversight to them, even though they're this seemingly independent vessel.
Yeah. But no, I think as well, this wouldn't be enough like halfway through a season or in the season 2 or whatever, but I think for the first episode you're happy just having the world to live in and explore without a super in-depth plot. Because I think obviously the other main plot that we follow, well, there's 3 main plots. they're sort of descending order in terms of how much screen time they get. But the second one is the detective on Ceres, and we learn a little bit about Ceres and about the living conditions and how there's like people who are corrupt that are like actually cutting off the air supply to certain sections to save money and things like that. And his plot's pretty strict. You know, he gets a case of missing persons, which relates to the woman we've seen at the start of the episode. And he sort of does a little bit of digging, but there's not a whole lot to it. He doesn't really get anywhere in this episode.
No, it's mostly just him showing us this space station.
Yeah, the locations.
Introducing us to the politics of this environment, because obviously he's got a boss, there's a hierarchy. There's you mentioned the guy with the air filters. You know, like what's his role?
And someone who he knows from his past. We meet someone. We see that prostitution's a thing here. And it seems to be legal. It's like a...
Yeah. It's also done very cleverly because he has like a protege, almost like a trainee.
Yeah, who's asking questions and he's explaining
stuff.
So
it feels very natural for him to explain stuff to us, essentially.
Yeah, I really like this, actually. I'm super... I mean, it could nosedive, but I am actually really happy we're catching up on this for season 2.
Me too.
If I have any complaints about the episode, this is actually kind of a weird one, and I wonder if you'll agree with me since it's your area. I have a little bit of an issue with the sound mix.
Okay.
I feel like, I don't know if it's the dialogue was mixed too low in some scenes, or if it was the surround effects and the 5.1 mix were mixed too high. But I felt like I was struggling to hear some of the lines of dialogue.
This sounds like a 5.1 issue, because I listened to 2.1 and did not have an issue with that.
Okay, well,
so it sounds like whoever's mixed it in 5.1 has messed up there.
Yeah, so I think the 5.1 mix is a little unbalanced, because, I mean, I was watching it late at night, and I can put it up fairly loud, but there's a point where the noises coming from behind me were getting so loud that I was like, oh, damn, that's...
Yeah. No, that sounds like it's a 5.1 specific issue, which is unfortunate, of course.
Because obviously it's typically the better way to experience anything, is in surround sound. So, that's a shame, but it's a minor complaint. Like, I got past it. I think it was only bothering me more because it was early on in the episode and I was trying to catch all these details, like what's the name of the space station, what's the name of the ship, and I think Thomas Jane maybe mumbles a little bit, which doesn't help.
Well, he is a bit mumbly in it, yeah. But I think that was him.
Yeah, that was him, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, had the sound mix been balanced a little bit better, maybe I would have not had as much of an issue with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, minor complaint. So I think we'll maybe go into a little bit of spoiler talk if you've not seen The Expanse. Obviously, a lot of you will have because it's a year old at this point. And if you haven't, then I recommend catching up for season 2 with us. Watch.
Yeah, you got about a month.
Yeah, try and watch our reviews after each episode because we tend to speculate a lot, and that can add up.
It is typically more fun to join us along this journey than it is to just watch it after. But yeah, if you watch it works too.
It can work well. I mean, if you're like me and you love listening to the old podcast because you'll hear people make a prediction about how a movie will do and you know that it's completely wrong and you just sit there and laugh because you're from the future and you know more than they do.
It's always fun to do, isn't it?
I enjoy that too. But I would recommend watching us along with it if you haven't watched it yet, just because the speculation's a big part of what we do.
Or, even if you have watched it, maybe rewatch along with us and, have some refresher before season 2 starts.
Alright, so we're going to get some spoilers for episode 1 of The Expanse, so spoilers from this point on. I will say, I was really expecting Holden's girlfriend to be a main character.
Yeah.
And the captain as well, I felt like... In hindsight, it makes sense that they built him up as this kind of reluctant leader, because now he actually has to be the leader.
Yeah.
He's now the highest ranking official on this little side ship that went out to the derelict one. And they get nuked, which is another thing. They nuke spaceships in this.
And it looks good.
It does look good.
That big blue sphere of light that comes out after it.
I have no idea if that is what a nuclear explosion would look like in space. I have no.
I don't care. I want it to look like that.
It's kind of the same thing. Like because we know what we know now. When you watch an old sci-fi movie, there's a lot of things in say like the early Star Wars films where this is bollocks. This doesn't. There's no sound in space. If the Death Star exploded, you wouldn't have this ring that would come out.
Yeah. But Star Wars gets away with it more than say Star Trek, just because it's so fantasy.
Yeah. And Star Trek's the kind of thing where it's adapted with the knowledge we've got over time, where it won't do the same mistakes again. It'll adapt. But no, it looked great. loving them explore the empty ship that she was on at the start, and whatever crazy things she saw with that big blue core that was like erupting at the start. I don't know what's going on there.
Was weird.
I feel like
So,
if I was to make a wild guess, and this is based on almost nothing at this point, I feel like she was onto some sort of conspiracy about what either Mars or whatever faction it was is up to something secret that's...
if I had to guess, it would be to do with water, some sort of filtration, perhaps, or something that can generate it somehow. Not entirely sure,
Maybe.
but everything seems to have revolved around like water and air. And
yeah, it could be something as simple as that they can convert something to water, and therefore there'd be an unlimited supply.
yeah, so then they're not relying on the belters anymore, and changes the whole balance of power between the three.
Yeah, because the belters supply them with like the Mars and Earth get supplied with minerals and stuff, like stuff that you can only get in the belt.
Yeah, because obviously, well, that's where most of that water comes from as well, like the ice on in the belt and the frozen stuff.
Yeah. But well, that's why because the ship's coming back from mining it to the ship,
Yeah.
and obviously space takes a long time to travel. So, I mean, obviously, again, it probably won't be entirely accurate, but they're at least trying to give the sense that it takes a while to get from place to place in space.
Yeah, like even when they hear that distress beacon, they say, "Oh, it'll only take us 2 days out of our way." So it's close enough for them to hear the beacon, but it's it's not it's small for them 2 days, but it's not that small an increment of time.
Yeah, I thought the ships looked good. I actually thought the introduction to Holden, he's having sex with his girlfriend, who's like the flight computer girl, or I don't know what the exact communications officer, maybe I can't remember the exact job title, but they're having sex in like zero gravity, and I thought that was a really cool image. I liked it because it didn't feel gratuitous. Like it wasn't, because some shows they'll cut to a sex scene and they'll just be like nothing but moaning and groaning, and it just feels kind of like, yeah, we get it, the sex. Whereas this felt a lot more like fantastical and peaceful.
It was also setting like the scene as like this is normal, just like this zero gravity environment where they would do everything in it. Like even this, it just feels like it was serving a purpose for that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And they built them up really well. And she was about to tell him something just before the ship blew up.
She was definitely pregnant.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought as well. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a twist later and we do somehow get them back. I don't know what the rules are of this universe yet. It feels more grounded than that, but at the same time, the way she was about to tell him something makes me think, I don't know.
There's got to be something to come from it.
Either
like him
that,
finding out. I don't know.
Maybe he'll find out some other way and it'll add some weight to it. But the funny thing is I liked her in her small amount of screen time, so I cared that she died in episode 1, and I think that's impressive. So that's pretty cool. So I like that he has the secret that he's the one who because they actually decided no, we're not going to go because we get a bonus for being on time with this shipment. So the captain says, and he agrees as the XO, no, yeah, we'll go. But he gets up in the middle of the night and he listens to the recording of the beacon and he hears the voice ask for help and beg for help, and he can't let it go. So he sends like an anonymous thing to the company so they know that if they don't go, it'll be on record that they heard this. Whereas before they were going to pretend that they never got it, but now it's on record, so they have to go. And he tells his friend, whose name is Nagata, who of course is going to be a main character. And we see a couple of other guys who are with them on the small ship. Burton and Garvey, with all 2 names. Some recognisable faces actually. Garvey, he was in The Night Of earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And he's been in a bunch of other things that I've seen. He was in Road Trip of all things. But so they go out in the ship and he tells Nagata, who he's clearly close with, that he was the one who did it. And she's like, you better not tell anyone that. And this is before it gets everyone killed.
Yeah, but what I found interesting is obviously it didn't really focus on those characters. It feels now they're going to be part of our core cast. Yeah. But we got almost nothing from them in this episode because we were focused on the ship people, like the captain and the girlfriend.
I think that was kind of a balance that they wanted to strike, where we learn about Holden because he's going to be the main one.
Yeah.
So that's important. But given a bit of focus on the other characters that died, made us care about them when they went. So it was kind of this balance where you're setting up one that we need to have set up, but you're also making us care about the ones who die. And then these other characters who are with them, we can get to know them.
We'll get to them, yeah. So it was an interesting choice because I didn't realise they were going to be main characters, like until the end. I was like, oh, okay, this is our group.
Yeah, you're leaning towards the ones that died first because they feel more like main characters. Yeah, I think that was a wise move. So I like this dynamic that's set up that he has this secret now, and he's going to have to live with this crap, Matt. Because the funny thing was, it was guilt in the first place that made him ensure they go and check this beacon.
Yeah.
But now,
and now it seems like it was just a trap, and he's got everyone killed.
Yeah, but at the same time, we did see the woman on the ship. I'm assuming it's the same ship. It looked like the same ship at the start of the episode, so we know there was a person needing help there, which is where the mystery comes in, and we see this ship that they think is from Mars, but the only evidence we have to go on that is that they say, "Oh, that looks like a Mars ship." We don't know if that is.
I don't think it's even that. I think it's that they say, "Oh, it must be stealth technology because it wasn't showing up on all the scanners," and then they say, "Oh, we know who's got that stealth technology good."
It's almost
must be Mars.
Yeah, it's almost just like they speculate that it's Mars, not that they even know it's Mars.
Yeah.
Which to me is almost interesting. Is it something else?
And then
on you go.
I was to say, if it is someone else, it raises the question of how did they get this stealthing technology that for some reason they assume only Mars can do.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be like aliens. It doesn't feel like the show's going to introduce anything like that. But I do, it does make me intrigued. So what's the mystery? Who are these other people? If it isn't Mars, and kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's cool. We do get some scenes on Earth, and I kind of left this out the spoiler-free section because I didn't really know how to talk about a lot of this. We mentioned the guy getting, well, we didn't say tortured, but he's getting tortured with gravity.
Yeah.
Because I guess we'll call her.
She's a UN councilwoman.
Yeah, that's something we didn't mention, is that the Earth is controlled by the UN. They're the force that controls Earth now, which is amusing in and of itself.
It's logical though.
Yeah, her name, I'm going to butcher this. Christian, and that's Christian with a J, not a T. Christian.
Right. Right.
Avasarala.
Well and thoroughly butchered.
Avasarala. Yeah. Apologies. Interestingly, I recognise the actress. More specifically, I recognise her voice. Did her voice sound familiar to you?
It did, but I couldn't place it.
I'm going to tell you what it's from, and you're going to laugh.
I'm going to know, aren't I?
You're going to smile. She was a voice in Mass Effect 2.
Who was she?
I can't remember, but as soon as I seen Mass Effect 2 on her IMDb, like, that's where I know her voice from. It has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so she seems to be like this really nice person. She's taking care of her grandson, but then it turns out she's this hard-edged, torturing for another 10 hours. We want this information. We're on the brink of war, kind of thing. We only get like 2 scenes with her. Yeah. But again, it just sets up a little enough that we get a sense of this is on Earth.
Yeah, and it's serving the political situation where this is getting worse between them and Mars.
Yeah, I think I keep complimenting because I actually thought it was a really strong first episode. I think what really impresses me as well is that nothing felt wasted in terms of time. I think every scene almost either told us about a character and their motivations or whatever, or advanced the not the plot but the world building.
World, yeah, which is very important to set up right now.
And I don't think there was any scene where I felt, because even the cop Miller, he has this scene where this girl's got this, I think it's a fake bird. I think it's meant to be fake, like a robot bird or something.
Yeah.
And he sees the girl, and it reminds him of the people he glossed over earlier, because he told his partner to forget these people that are dying. Like, this guy pays the department or whatever. He's untouchable. And it makes him change his mind and go back, and he throws him in an airlock and threatens to, he sucks all the air out of the room so that he feels what it's like to be suffocated. But even that, as much as that feels kind of separate, it's important because it says, look, this guy is a cynical prick, but when it comes down to it, when he's pushed into a hard place, he'll do the right thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, building character, building the world.
And then it has those just occasionally just cool things that make you look at it, like the arm.
Yeah, the guy gets his arm. He barely even cares. He's like, oh.
I'll just get a new one. But it's just that visual of the arm spinning through space.
Yeah, it looked really cool. But, he did care, actually. That's not the thing I should have said. He cares, but he doesn't care that he lost his arm. He cares about which replacement he's getting.
Yeah.
He's annoyed that he might get a used one. He's like, no, I don't want that. I want a fancy one.
Yeah.
So again, it was funny, but again, it tells you about the world. It gives you some information about the society they live in, and I like that. That's really good. So no, I really like this episode, and after I watched it, I'm like, you know what? No, we're doing this one by one. I want to talk about this after each episode. So,
yeah.
There we are. This is the only one we're doing today. We want 1 or 2 a day until we're done. There's 10 episodes, so it'll be
next week sometime at the latest.
Yeah, at the most a full week. It'll be until we're finished, and then we're thinking about doing the Magician season 1 as well. We'll try it. We'll try with episode 1. We'll see how we feel. But that's after this.
And we'll see when that is in the rest of our slate starts filling in.
Yeah, because obviously next week more shows start coming back. But it's not too bad next week, so I think we might fit in. But no promises. No promises. But that's The Expanse, episode 1. I liked it a lot. Connor didn't like it. Maybe I'm maybe more ecstatic about it.
I thought it was still very good, don't get me wrong. But I think you just preferred it a little bit more.
I don't think it's even so much that I see more quality in it. I think it's just that I've got an itch, and it's scratching that itch.
See, I thought it was very good, but I haven't quite gone, oh, I need to watch the next one after that. It's like, okay, I'm interested. I'm going to watch it, but I don't feel the need to go, all right, I want to put it on right now. Which is maybe what the difference is.
Well, you're going to it anyway, because I'm making you, so that's fine.
Well, yeah.
So that's The Expanse, episode 1. Let us know what you thought of this first episode. If you've seen it, no spoilers for the rest. Don't be naughty.
Yeah, don't ruin it for us.
So thanks very much, guys. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. And we'll see you next time. And remember, season 2 starts at the start of February, so we're looking forward to that.
I believe it's the 8th.
I'll take your word for it. So I'll put it up. I'll put it up on the screen. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but when I'm putting this through the edit, I'll put it on the screen and you can have a look. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.